In First Blood, a mentally unstable Vietnam War veteran, when abused of a small town's police force, begins a one-man war with it. A lot of people may not know this, but this movie is actually the first part in the Rambo film series. It started with First Blood, this movie, then came Rambo First Blood Part 2, then Rambo 3, and then in 2008, like 20 or something years later, Rambo, which is not a remake, it's actually Rambo 4, First Blood 4, Rambo First Blood Part 4. Yeah, it's kind of weird, but basically, they did this movie as Rambo 1, I guess you could say. So I've been wanting to see this movie for a long time, because I've always known about Rambo. He's always, referenced in movies like, oh, Rambo, he's the big badass guy who shoots a machine gun and scream. Although it's not in this movie, I believe it's in the second movie. I mean, this movie is a different kind of Rambo than the Rambo you think. I mean, everybody thinks of Rambo as, that badass kind of dude who kills enemies easily, and he takes a machine gun and shoots it and screams, he's like, yeah, machine gun, and I'm pretty sure he's the one who started that craze, but this movie is a bit of a different side of Rambo that, you don't really think of Rambo. In this movie, John Rambo is, a mentally unstable war veteran. He's homeless, he's just moving around, and he wants but it's pestered by this mean cop. Then he's eventually under arrest. He escapes, but he's chased by them, and he has to use his instincts like that from Vietnam to try to survive the cops and eventually the National Guard. So it's First Blood, which is also based on a book, is more of a story of survival. It's a very deep story about Vietnam and the Vietnam War veterans, I mean, the ending is extremely emotional. I'm not going to say anything. I wasn't crying or anything, but you definitely understand how Rambo is feeling. I mean, Rambo obviously doesn't die because there's Rambo 2, 3, 4, but at the end you definitely understand how Rambo is feeling. You definitely kind of feel sympathy for him, and you kind of understand what he's going through. I mean, it is a very kind of sad story about Vietnam and the war veterans, and the cop, the main villain in this movie, the cop, Trotman, played by Teasel, played by Brian Dennehy, is just probably the biggest jerk I've ever seen in a movie. I mean, this character is just such a pardon my language, but he's such a bitch to Rambo. You just want him to die. And I'm not going to say whether he dies or not. You have to watch the movie to find out. Now, I haven't read the book. I would like to, but so I'm not sure if his fate, what happens to him, is different than what happens, in the book. But this is the movie, and he has to try to survive. The cops and the National Guard, because they eventually go after him in the forest too, and also his the guy who trained him to be in Vietnam, like Colonel Trotman, played by Richard Crenna, also tries to talk him out of it. And Trotman is a very likable character, and Rambo is also a very likable character. You definitely kind of feel kind of sympathy for him. You understand what he's going through. You understand how he hates being homeless, and how in Vietnam he could handle $1 million equipment, but back in America he can't even hold a job. So and he's being pushed by just a mean cop, and he hates how nobody respects him. I guess you could say he kind of wants a hug. I mean, not literally, but he just kind of wants things to get better for him, He wants to, he wants to stop being pushed around by people like Teasel, and he wants to finally just kind of settle down, but he can't, you know, and he keeps getting. And I heard that in the book, it's not the first time he was, you know, like bullied by mean cops. I mean, in the movie, Teasel calls him a drifter. I'm not sure what that means, but I guess other kind of cops said that to him. And, you know, I mean, Rambo kind of, I mean, at first he's, you know, just trying to survive in the forest, but towards, like, the last third of the movie, he feels kind of crazy. He already is kind of mentally unstable, and you do see that in, like, one scene of the movie, like a certain part of the movie. I mean, mostly in the first half, and definitely in, like, the last third. I mean, you see kind of how mentally unstable he really is, and you just, you know, you hate this character, Teasel, and you know, you want Rambo to succeed. I mean, you want him to not be pushed around by mean cops anymore, and it's very entertaining seeing Rambo, you know, like try surviving in the forest and hunting down these mean cops, and eventually the National Guard, and then the last kind of you know, third of the movie, like the last, like maybe the last half hour or so of the movie. I'm not gonna say what happens, but Rambo turns more into the badass guy that we know. In the last 5 minutes, you know, the last 5 minutes is a very kind of emotional kind of influence into the movie, and it does kind of leave you feeling kind of sad for the Vietnam War veterans, you know. You feel sad for Rambo because of all that he's, you know, kind of gone through, and how he's getting pushed around by mean cops like Teasel, you know. So you know, you just kind of feel that for Rambo, and I think Sylvester Stallone did a very good job as Rambo. I think he was definitely kind of born for this role. I mean, Sylvester Stallone is like perfect for characters like Rambo. I mean, there also is Rocky. I was in the first three, which is Rocky, and he is very good as Rocky, but I think he's more kind of fit for Rambo, you know. So yeah, that's First Blood. I think it's a very good movie. If you haven't seen it, I think you should definitely check it out, because it's definitely one of Sylvester Stallone's best movies.